as I said, when I say non-verbal, the non-verbal aspect goes beyond body language. Our gestures, our posture, our eye movements are just minuscule part of what I mean when I say non-verbal, or what anybody means when they talk to you about the non-verbal communication. And NLP brings that out very beautifully in non-verbal being your tonality, in non-verbal being your, the emphasis that you put on words, in non-verbal being the presuppositions that you take when you are communicating something to somebody, the non-verbal being the way that you are, using your voice, your rhythm, all of those things, they go into non-verbal. Another aspect of non-verbal is the visuals that you're having inside your head when you are listening to somebody or when you are speaking to somebody. Because before we have a communication externally, we have a communication internally happening inside our head. What do I mean when I say that? It's not that you are making a script inside your head. Sometimes we do. When we are in an important discussion or in an important meeting, we do think what are the next words that we are going to speak. So we do prepare a script. But that's not the only time when you are doing a nonverbal communication or an internal communication. Sometimes you have a voice inside your head, which is when you are listening to somebody offering you replies, not responses, but replies. Not just the reply that you need to give to the other person, but replying to you, how much you are absorbing and listening and accepting what the other person is communicating. This voice sometimes is your own voice, sometimes it is not. This voice is based on maybe somebody that has said something to you, something that you had read somewhere, or maybe even your life experiences where you have learned about certain things, where you have had your experiences and you built beliefs that if someone says this, then this is what they mean. If someone is pointing towards this, then this is the direction that they want to go to. But this is your internal communication. Is this what the other person is seeing, believing, accepting, or understanding? That is a big question mark. The reason, we all have a filter here in the conscious mind. This conscious mind is the one which does all your thinking for you. But we also have a subconscious mind. This subconscious mind is your autopilot mind, your memory mind, your storage mind, your programmed mind. So all those life experiences that you may have had, which makes you come to a conclusion that if someone is saying something in this particular tone, then this is what they mean. This belief comes from that subconscious program that you have gone through, that you have established through your life experiences. Are you wrong in that? Not at all. You're not wrong. They are your own filters, and never ever are they wrong. But what they do is they limit your understanding. They limit your communication effectiveness. How do they do that? Those filters delete information. Those filters distort information, and then they generalize it. What we call as the DDG filters, which are present in every single individual on this planet. There's nobody who doesn't have these filters, including a person who has NLP'd their mind. Even I have these filters. The difference is I'm aware of those filters. I'm aware that I have a filter, hence I ask questions to my own self and to the person that I'm listening to, because I know that my mind has automatically deleted things. So I need to retrieve those deleted informations. My mind has automatically distorted that information. So I need to get a more clearer picture, a more clearer understanding of what my mind has distorted. And then, based on all my life's learnings, based on my education, based on my experiences, I start generalizing. What do I mean when I say generalizing? Some things you've been told in a particular manner, and you develop an understanding around it. And then you say, oh, if somebody says something like this is what they mean. The moment you do this, you have generalized your understanding to a particular conclusion. Are you wrong? Again, you are not. But that does not make your generalization applicable to every circumstances and to every individual. So asking those questions to ourselves and to others helps us. You can't remove these filters, but it helps you how you can work with these filters and not let these filters limit your understanding, limit your communication. What do these filters do for you? They distort time, place, matter, energy. The energy of the person who's speaking to you may be positive, but because in your mind there is a filter which has distorted it and generalized it as being maybe negative or maybe not very appreciative, you put that in a bracket of negative energy. Your mind does that automatically. All these things that you see that I'm showing you inside is all happening automatically. Everything that goes inside through your eyes, through your ears, all the external environment stimulus goes through these filters. Even when you are watching something, you're taking a walk, you're observing things. Even those things which you're seeing, which you're observing, which you're noticing are going through these filters. And by default, when they go through this filter, they are categorized and they are judged. And then they are labeled and placed in places where your generalized understanding of things are. In NLP, we start with one statement, and that says that the map is not the territory. This is one sentence which has various understandings, it has various meanings. One of them being that what you see is not the reality, the only reality. What you're hearing is not the only truth. What you're understanding is not the only fact. So all of these understandings, the map, we go with an understanding that this is what it is going to be like, this is how it is going to feel like, or these are the things that I'm more interested in. That's only a part of what you are looking for by default from your subconscious. Is that something which you choose and you tell yourself that I'm only going to be listening for this? Not at all. Nobody does that. You don't go with a mindset that I'm only going to be listening for these words. You don't go with this mindset. You go with an open mindset. You're listening to somebody in any communication. But what you do is you go with an expectation which is automatic, an expectation of how the communication should be. What will be the outcome of the communication? I had a client who used to have this particular problem when she was going for a particular meeting with a particular group of people. It was a board meeting, and she was part of various boards. For this particular board was quite difficult. And every time that she would go for this particular board meeting, she would say to herself, I'm going to have again a tough day today because they are all going to be arguing and I'm not going to get any sense out of this meeting. And that's exactly what had been happening. And hence she generalized it like that. Because for the past 3 months, they were discussing one particular topic and they kept discussing. So she had generalized that there is going to be no outcome because there has been no outcome. When she was speaking to me about this, I said, okay, what is it that you would like to be, as the outcome? And she said, we would like to come to a consensus and, come out and take decisions and get this thing flow on the floor and out and about and roll it out. I said, so what is it that you are expecting when you go to this meeting? She said, I'm expecting all kinds of chaos. I said, and what would you like it to be? And she said, I would like it to be, some matured people sitting around the table and discussing an issue. And we worked on that, the desired outcome, how she would like them to be, how she would like the discussion to go forward. Because she was the one who was chairing that meeting, she could set the direction of where she wanted the whole board to go. And we worked on that for an hour. I told her the couple of things that she needed to do, and she did that for the whole day that day. And when she went to the meeting the next day, she went with a peaceful mind. There were no expectations of it should go like this or it will go like this. She was in a space where she was at peace with her own self, plain and simple, no expectations. And that day, she messaged me that the meeting was completely different. The energy of the people was completely different. They actually solved so many different issues, and they came out with solving problems which had been lying on the board table for the last 3 months. The energy, her energy had changed because she had become aware of the filters that she was using, and she didn't change them. She just became aware and kept them aside. What it did, it changed her language. The words that she was using, her tonality, her rhythm, her voice, her emphasis on words, everything. It completely changed that. The memories of the last couple of meetings, she was not carrying them with her when she went to this meeting. When she was making decisions, it was from a clean slate. How did we do all of this? We used what is a beautiful creation in NLP, which is called meta programs. Meta programs are basically things which are your beliefs, your values, which influence your attitude. We just worked on that, on just this part, and the whole thing changed. Because your beliefs, your values, and your attitude are the biggest influencer to deleting, distorting, and generalizing information. Any information. Once this is done, your internal representation, the things that you're saying inside your head, the things that you're seeing inside your head, the voice that you're hearing inside your head, it all changes. And when that changes, you go from being in a state of aggression or negative or desolate or whatever it is that you are, you change the state of your mind. When you change the state of your mind, by default, your listening skills move up to more than 70%. That means that is the amount of space you create inside your head to listen, absorb, accept, and understand. And once that listening becomes effective and impactful, by default, your physiology, your body, it changes. Your posture changes. Your expressions change. And that is a non-verbal communication which connects with the other person's subconscious. There is a conscious connect which we create with people. When I'm talking to you right now, there is a conscious connect, all right, which you're seeing, which you're thinking. But there is also a subconscious connect. When I'm talking to you about beliefs, values, and attitudes, there is something which is also being triggered here. There is a subconscious connect which you build with people, of course, because your cameras are off. So that connect is a little more difficult. But if you would have been online with me and you could see me and we could have eye contact, that connect becomes even more powerful, the subconscious connect. When the subconscious connect is developed, when your expression changes, the other person's expressions will also change, vice versa. When your tonality changes, the other person's tonality will also change, vice versa. So when that happens, the entire behavior of that communication will change. From being arguments, you will come to a conclusion. From being in disagreements, you will come to a place where both of you can find more points of congruence. Communication can be developed as a skill only when the communication behavior changes. Otherwise, you can keep pouring in money to develop your communication skills, but you will not get satisfactory results. There may be maybe a 15 or 20% change. That's about it. And it's not sustainable. It doesn't stay because these filters will get back to work. They will again delete, they will again distort, and they'll again generalize. So what are these filters most influenced by is what I'll speak about next. But before I do that, I invite any questions, any doubts, anything that you'd like to ask. You can open your mic, switch on your mic and speak. You can type it in the question box, anything. All right, then I move on. Nobody asked me anything about this VAKOG. Before telling you more about the filters, this is also a filter, the VAKOG, which is what we call VAKOG, which is, I think, as leaders, you all must be aware of, that we all have different representational systems when we are communicating. We have some people who are very visual. So they use a lot of visual words when they are communicating. They say things like, you know what, I can't see a solution to this problem. Some people may say that, you know, I see a very dark future. I see obstacles. Some people say that I can't imagine how this is going to improve anything in the organization. I can't imagine where this relationship is going to lead to. When people are using these words, they are basically talking about what they are seeing inside their head. These are people whose representational system, which influences this filter, is visual. So they have to see it to understand. Now, what does that mean? Do you need to carry pictures with you? Not at all. You just need to listen to what the words that they are using. Anybody who uses, I can't look at this, see, imagine, well, just replicate the same words. So you can say, yeah, I can show you. You have to look at it. Let's imagine it like this. When you do that, what you are doing is you are helping them take care of this particular filter of the representational system through which they are taking in information here. The visual filter can be worked with by using visual words which elicit a visual representation. Then we have the auditory filter. This doesn't sound too good to me. It doesn't ring a bell. You know what? It sounds freaky. It sounds I'm not an auditory person. So there are so many different examples, you know, yeah, I hear this not working out, or I can say that this is not going to work out. In those cases, when you are listening to somebody, use a lot of auditory words. And if you are saying to them, I can see what you mean, but look at it from this angle, well, you are not speaking to them in a language in which they understand. So these filters are working full on, and there's a lot of information which is being completely deleted. Deleted because they can't imagine, they can't understand, because it is not in their language. So using few auditory, what we call predicates, what in normal language we would say words. For example, I can understand how this doesn't sound too good to you. Let's say we do it this way. Tell me, what do you think about it? That is going to help minimize the deletion of the information which was happening. Then we have the K, which is the kinesthetic. People who need to do, to learn, to understand. They need to touch, they need to feel, they need to hold it. These people, no matter how much you tell them, no matter how much you show them inside their head, if they cannot see it in front of their eyes, they cannot touch it, it is very difficult for them to understand what you're saying. So again, there is where the delusion is happening. And there is also where the generalization is happening. Because if they cannot understand what you are meaning, then by default, the mind takes that information and puts it in the general box through which they have, which has been developed based on their experiences, based on their past, the memories. So it goes and connects with that. Your intent may be completely different, but they are comparing whatever you are trying to tell them to based on something which they have seen, heard, or done in the past. So for them, it is important that they feel, that they touch, that they sense it. Then, of course, we have the O and the G, which is the olfactory and the gustatory. Very few people who actually use the senses, but you will still find somebody saying, it stinks. It's just so, it gives me such a bad smell, even if they don't use the word, when they scrunch up their nose, they are using the system to delete, to generalize the information that you're giving them. And then we have the G, which is the gustatory, and you will find people say, it leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. It's so pungent, it's so bitter. Well, the words were not put in their mouth, they didn't have a taste, you didn't serve them a dish. But they are processing that information. Their mind is processing their information by comparing it with something that they have generalized and stored in different taste formats. So then at that point, you need to ask them, what is it that would taste sweet to you? I mean, it's very ridiculous, but believe me, most of the things in NLP, when you learn them, and most of my clients do say this too, that it's quite simple the way you ask questions, and sometimes they are so non-related. It's not they are non-related, it's just that because to your conscious mind they are not related, because it is for your subconscious where the filters are stored. The conscious mind applies them, the storage is here. So once you are taking in this time is when you ask a lot of questions, so that these filters are not doing too much of deletion, too much of distortion, and too much of generalization. But again, coming back to the meta programs, what are these beliefs, attitudes, and values doing to us, and how are they influencing the filters? We don't realize this, but these filters are behavioral. What do I mean when I say behavioral? Have you ever encountered somebody who, actually coming to give you even a better example, we all today start our day with emails. Our clients, we communicate with them more on emails than on anything else. So try to just remember an email which was long, and it was in a story format, and it had general descriptions and niceties and asking you about everything, and it had a lot of non-work related stuff also thrown in there, plus at the same time information which you didn't need but was thrown in there. And one simple thing was explained probably in 5-6 different paragraphs or lines. Now that kind of a person is a person who likes to speak in that particular manner, because they are, from a behavioral point of view, they are what we say on the left brain and the right brain, they are on the right brain. They need to have that information. They associate, they understand more with those particular information coming into them. From a behavioral aspect, we call them, if I go on the DISC aspect, then these are the I and the S people who like to talk in long words, in long paragraphs, and give you the whole picture, the whole story. And then you may have one more client who may just write to you, hi, I would like to have this information. Would you please provide me with bullet points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I really appreciate your help. Thank you. And done. That's for you a D and a C. People who are on the left quadrant and they come to you, or on the upper quadrant, and they come to you with specific information that I want, give it to me and I leave. So from a behavioral point, there are different styles of communication, and those styles create filters. And these, again, are not known, or people are not aware of these filters. Then we move on to cultural filters, which is quite common, which we all know of. People from different cultures have different meanings and understandings, and different cultural background gives them various different values. Different cultural background gives them various different attitudes. This becomes an automatic filter. Are they wrong? Not at all. Are you wrong when you're not able to communicate to them in that particular filter, or with through knowing those values, knowing those attitudes? Not at all. It's not possible for us to know everybody's cultural filters. It is important for us to be aware that people have cultural filters. What that allows us to do is to ask more specific questions. Because we know that there are cultural filters, we can ask them more specific questions. Then we have traditional filters. People have been doing certain things in certain ways for a certain amount of time. Some are because the traditions have been brought down from family to family, from generations to generations. Some, they have set new traditions. Traditional filters also include habitual filters. So habits which you have formed, which becomes part of your own individual tradition of doing things. Even they become a part of the filter which deletes, distorts, and generalizes communication. Then, of course, we have the religious filters. We have the educational filters. People coming from with the same qualification, but different, universities, different teachers. Every teacher has their own different, teaching style, and every student has their own learning style. These styles also influence the filters which we have, which creates our own individual attitude, individual values, and they go in to become the part of the DDG filters, the deletion, distortion, and generalization filters. We then, of course, as I have given you quite a few examples of experiences that we've had in life, maybe in our job, maybe in our relationships, maybe in all the other things which have happened in our life, we may have had these experiences which become part of our, or influence our behavioral filters, the behavior, explicit behavior, or the implicit behavior, which is inside, the internal representation. They become influenced by the experiences, regional filters, and most importantly, linguistic filters, meaning the same word that we use to mean something may mean something completely different in another language, in another culture, in another region, in another country. Are we aware of all of those? No. Do we need to become aware of all of those? Well, depends. If you're planning to stay in a different country, you're staying there for a longer duration, yeah, you will need to do it. But if you have a client who's from a different country, if you have a client who's from a different region, if you have a client whose language is different than yours, then you don't need to learn it. You just need to remember one thing, that this is a filter. So I need to ask questions. The bottom line coming down to, how do I take care of these filters? How do I not allow deletion, distortion, and generalization to influence and to take away the impact from my communication? Is to learn those questions, is what we call the meta model questions in NLP. And they are very simple, 7 questions, 6 questions, 5 questions, doesn't matter. Simple questions. Do not ask why. Do not ask the question why. Normally, when I talk to people, their first thing of asking questions from people, why? Why are you saying this? Why do you feel like this? Why are you, thinking like this? No, don't ask the why. Because a why doesn't give you a reason, it gives you an excuse. It gives you a justification. It doesn't give you an answer. The question that you should start with is a what. What makes you say this? What makes you feel like this? Because the moment you say the word question, whatever has been deleted, you are trying to retrieve that information. So when you say what questions, the deleted information, which even the other person doesn't know, is being retrieved. So once you get an answer to that, another what questions. What makes you believe that it is always going to be like this? Now, when you ask the second what question, basically you have gone a level deeper into their own beliefs, attitudes, and values. So once you get that, you have to, if they quote somebody saying something, who said it? Who was that person? What was the authority? What we are doing here by questioning is that we are asking them to look into their values, their beliefs and attitudes without disrespecting, without actually asking them of their beliefs, of their values. We don't need to know it. We need them to become aware of it. Because when they become aware of it, they will give you more information. When they give you more unspecific information, is when you can then apply it through your filters, because even you have filters. So the more questions you ask, the more both these filters, which had deleted, distorted, and generalized information, are retrieving. Even you are retrieving, and the person that you're communicating with is also retrieving the information. It has to be from both sides. It's not that you are okay with your filters and you need to know about the others. You need to first become aware of what filters you have. Where are they coming from? What these filters are doing to you? What information are you deleting? What information are you distorting? That you will only know when you know your own attitudes, beliefs, your meta programs. Meta programs are the programs on which you run your life. Once you know them, you will know why you make the way you make decisions, what makes you do that, what makes the memories that you have come to you more often, what makes you use the language that you've been using, what influences your energy. You have done this for your own self, is when you will be most effective to do it with others. So this is the basic of understanding the behavior of communication. And when you understand this behavior, this foundation, then when you go to develop your communication skills, boom, you get results, and you get impressive results. Now, whether it is with yourself or with your team, always remember that communication before a skill is a behavior. It's influenced by your mindset, by your attitude. Any questions?